Everyone in the class was in awe after witnessing Zhou making a manifestation scroll so quickly. They also commented about him as it was a reason he was so confident about it. Zhou assured everyone that he would provide them with free manifestation scrolls as much as they wanted. He then asked everyone whether they believed in him. They all happily assured him that they believed in him as they were excited to get the free manifestation and inscription. They also told him not to go back on his word. With that, he assured them that he wasn't planning to do this because he wanted to live with his head held high for the next 4 years. Besides, he won't let anyone bully them. He excitedly asked whether they were with him, to which they all happily agreed. He was glad with their positive response. Suddenly, an old man appeared in the scene, remarking on Zhou's spirit of youth and courage about holding his head high. He offered his help to Zhou in times of trouble since he had caught his interest. Zhou was confused about his identity. One of the students informed him that the old man was the director of student affairs, Xiao Shi. He immediately hugged Xiao while telling him that he should listen to freshmen like them who were bullied by their seniors on their first day. While dramatically crying, he also added that Xiao should have seen their situation and how they all ganged up on them. They also threatened to make his life hell in the school if he wouldn't serve them. He then continued that he was wrong when he had fought them back in self-defense. Then he appealed for teacher Xiao to help them. Everyone's sweat dropped to see his melodrama. Meanwhile, Xiao wondered how Zhou could be a weak student. Then he decided to be lenient on him, because he had admitted his mistake besides being a genius. At that, Xiao told him that he wouldn't blame Zhou for anything. Besides, he would also punish the bullies. Zhou excitedly complimented the academy and teacher Xiao. He also promised to study hard in order to bring glory to the academy. Then Xiao left after informing them that the opening ceremony was about to start. Zhou thanked him with the promise of a visit. He proudly turned to his classmates who were in awe of his acting. They promised to admire him in the future while commenting about his shameless act. His expression turned serious at this point as he asked whether they had any objection to him being class president. Someone entered, while objecting to Zhou being class president. The girl, Ming Hua, asked how they could decide it without her consent. Zhou protested, asking how she could decide that since she wasn't from their class. She arrogantly informed them that she was their homeroom teacher, which boggled Zhou. Ming Hua complimented his speech, but emphasized that the class president should be chosen by a voting process. She would maintain a fair process of voting for class president, ensuring there wouldn't be any force regarding getting votes. Meanwhile, Zhou wondered about Ming Hua becoming their homeroom teacher when she was the same age as them. Besides, he had already fought the class teacher before the beginning of the school. Those who had recognized Ming Hua wondered about the reason for her becoming the homeroom teacher of the commoner class. It seemed like the freshmen and Zhou would have tough years ahead. On the other hand, Ming Hua continued saying that the class president should be chosen after winning over people by virtue, to which Zhou agreed. He was thankful that she wasn't hard on him because of yesterday's matter. After a while, the opening ceremony began. No one talked about the previous fight. Everyone from the director of student affairs to the dean gave their speech to motivate the freshmen. A woman was standing in front of them. His class fellow informed him that she was Kai, their dean as well as the younger sister of the Philip Empire emperor. She was also the vice commander of the imperial army. There was also a rumor about her being in a dubious relationship with warlord Ming Yu. With the speeches of directors, the ceremony carried on for a long time. Meanwhile, in Philip City, a girl was shown with an ethereal glow. Someone called this girl president and pointed out any physical jewel. However, she glared at them, which shut them up. Then they were shocked to see her level was the king level. The woman went forward and shot an energy towards a bird. The bird came out from a seal with it. She commented that since she had saved it from its plight, it belonged to Snow Lord Mountain. Then the bird landed on her fingers. Later, some people there were shocked to see the absence of the Silver Emperor's celestial falcon. They commented on its disappearance from its seal right after the release of that terrifying heavenly energy. Suddenly, they noticed writing on the wall. It was written that she had taken the king-level beast to Snow Lord Mountain, as it couldn't belong to someone like them. If they wanted its return, they should prepare for death. At the academy, the homeroom teacher of each class led their students to their respective classes after the opening ceremony. During class, Shengguan decided not to sit with Zhou in order to study properly. They were informed about the content of the semester by Ming Hua. There were a total of 10 subjects, so they would be attending many classes. Moreover, Ming Hua was quite serious during class, unlike her usual self. Then there was voting for class president, and it was won by Zhou. Afterwards, the students were required to introduce themselves while telling their inborn jewel and forte, as instructed by Ming Hua. Later, Zhou asked Koi Rui to help him remember the attributes of each student regarding the manifestation and inscription. In this way, the class ended. However, he was called by Ming Hua after the class. Shengguan was concerned about it. He consoled her by saying that he would handle it. On his way, he wondered whether Ming Hua had planned revenge on him, but he consoled himself that he wasn't afraid of her, regardless of her plan. Later, he stood in front of Ming Hua in her office, asking whether she needed him for anything. She smirked, while remarking whether he thought she would let go of the matter in which he had attacked her so ruthlessly. He nervously reminded her that it was she who wished to fight with him yesterday. She nonchalantly replied that she would forgive him for that, but wanted him to show her the Alexandrite cat's eye mental jewel. He was stunned to know about her awareness of the mental jewel. However, he feigned ignorance regarding the jewel. She told him to stop pretending, then she threatened him that if he didn't show her the Alexandrite cat's eye mental jewel, then the inscription palace wouldn't ignore the fact that Joe had evil attributes. Otherwise, he could live his academy years in peace. He darkly asked her to explain as he didn't understand. Ming Hua explained that he unknowingly ate her underworld flower energy, which he tried to hide from her, but she had realized it. She added that nothing could devour her underworld flowers except for evil energy. She then complimented him for having such strong evil attributes. Besides, he could also develop and form demonic changes. Suddenly, her winsome expression turned to shock at seeing the dark aura coming from Joe. She reminded him that they were on academy grounds and that there were many people stronger than him. He consoled her by saying that he wouldn't do anything on academy grounds. He subtly threatened her, suggesting that since they were living together, he would handle their problems when she was at home. Besides, the academy wouldn't interfere with their matter. Ming Hua understood his threat as he suppressed the violent aura immediately. She threatened him back, saying she would reveal his evil attributes if he stepped out from there. He replied that she was full of herself, but didn't know that many things weren't what they seemed on the surface. However, with a sigh, he agreed to show her the Alexandrite mental jewel. When he showed it to her, she was shocked to find it was gold-green cat eyes. With a smile, he told her that it wasn't what it looked like. With that, he bid her farewell. On the other side, Ming Hua was fuming with anger because she didn't think her instinct was wrong. Joe must have had evil attributes. She pondered. Joe must have some method to conceal his jewel. She went through their fight, in which he had used other attributes aside from the spatial attribute. She didn't believe Joe had a gold-green eye jewel. Suddenly, she planned something with a smirk and was determined to make Joe submit to her. On the other hand, Joe was tense, realizing his carelessness and letting Ming Hua sense his evil attributes. Evil jewel masters weren't welcomed anywhere on the continent. If someone got wind of it, his peaceful days would be over. In this way, he wouldn't be able to live in the Tiangong Empire as he wanted to serve his nation after graduation. He darkly decided to kill Ming Hua tonight, no matter if she was a woman or Ming Yu's younger sister. He would do it for his nation and the safety of Shangguan. Afterwards, a senior student approached him. When asked, he introduced himself as Zhang Lang. He wanted to pledge his allegiance to Zhou, as he and 40 other students from the senior common class didn't side with any noble. Zhou had expected it beforehand, but he couldn't accept them because of the new complication. He asked about the assurance of their verbal allegiance. He also added that their allegiance meant 50 million gold coins yearly for them. He raised the question of what would happen if they ran away with the money. At that, Zhang asked about his conditions to make him believe in their pledge. Zhou replied that he wanted a written contract with them in which they would write about their pledge to him, then he would provide for them. The condition infuriated Zhang, who protested that Zhou was insulting them. Zhou thought that he had already planned to pull in some senior students for the upcoming years. However, the situation with Ming Hua complicated matters, so he needed to act on his plan sooner. After reaching Philip City, Zhou had realized the weak state of the Tiangong Empire. He had determined to bring a large number of Jewel Master followers to the Tiangong Empire in order to strengthen it. For this purpose, he had planned to make a reputation for himself at the opening ceremony. Because of that, he had made the manifestation scroll and promised to support everyone. Therefore, he informed Zhang about his plan to cover their manifestation and inscription costs in order to compensate for their weaknesses. He added that he was already an intermediate manifestation master because he had been manifesting for a year. At this rate, he could become an advanced manifestation master before he graduated. Besides, he could also get the title of master in the upcoming 10 years. He slyly added that he was 70% sure he would be a divine master in the following years. So it would be different for them to follow him, instead of being just a noble's pet. While looking at Zhang's face, Zhou decided to give him some time to ponder over what he had said. He told Zhang to take some time and negotiate with others if he wanted. He added that since they were studying in the same academy, he could see him meanwhile. Zhang protested that as a spatial attribute mental jewel master, he couldn't use darkness seal. At that, Zhou confidently challenged Zhang, asking how he could say Zhou couldn't use it, while showing him his dark attribute. Now Zhang understood that Zhou was a multi-attribute mental jewel master. Zhou slyly added that he would be waiting for his reply. Zhang's mind was blank for a moment. Meanwhile, he didn't doubt Zhou becoming a divine master. He even started imagining a potential future as his follower. When Zhou went back to his class to find Shangguan, he found that his classmates were waiting for him. He was moved by their gesture. He then gave all of his money to Yan Zhexi in order to buy enough inscriptions for more skills during the holidays. Moreover, he decided to make manifestation scrolls for each of his classmates after collecting their attributes and physical jewel information from Kurui. They were excited to get their own manifestation scrolls, which raised their confidence in Zhou. After arranging all of the academy affairs, there were no classes for the afternoon, so he brought Shangguan back to the courtyard. He looked at his cat while commenting that despite wanting to cultivate, it was lazing around. However, he didn't have time to get lazy because it wasn't easy to bear the burden of expenses for 400 people. His 400,000 gold coins wouldn't last long, so he needed to speed up his process of making manifestation scrolls in order to make money. With this skill, Zhou could successfully make intermediate manifestation scrolls, which required only 100 pages, while elementary manifestation scrolls required thousands of pages. So he decided to make intermediate manifestation scrolls only. After making 6 sets of manifestation scrolls, his crafting materials ran out. He decided to sell 5 scrolls while keeping one for his classmates to ensure their loyalty to him. After completing his work, he waited for Ming Hua as it was already late and she hadn't returned home. Meanwhile, he decided to refresh his mind to deal with her in good condition. After a while, he sensed her presence and opened his eyes. But he decided to deal with her at midnight. During his meditation, he felt someone open his window, whom he assumed must be Ming Hua. He thought she was courageous enough to take the initiative and not be afraid of death. Ming Hua was now in front of him, expressing her surprise at his cultivation. He remarked about her late-night visit. She told him she was there because of what happened between them during school time, so she asked him to come with her somewhere so that she could explain why she was sensitive about the evil energy emanating from him. He agreed, and she told him to follow her, which he did. Before they exited, the cat woke up. On the other side, Zhou followed Ming Hua to the suburb area to understand her intention. He was on guard on his way, staying alert in case any raid would happen to them. Usually the city gate was closed at midnight, so Ming Hua brought Zhou out of the city via secret passages. After going 10 miles, Ming Hua announced that they had arrived. Suddenly he collided with her back, which she complained about. After an argument, he asked about her purpose in bringing him there. Ming Hua started to say that she was sure of him having evil attributes because it was impossible for him to eat her natal flowers without it. However, she didn't know his source of hiding it because she knew he didn't just have a spatial attribute. While sensing his dark mood, she requested him to hear her out. She continued, saying there was a group called Evil Jewel Masters. As they evolved or leveled up, their inborn power jewels would create a form of evil attributes. At that, he reminded her that to become an evil jewel master, they needed to sacrifice their beloved ones. Besides, they were sought out by the Continent Inscription Palace. They were purely evil. She protested that while evil jewel attributes could be evil, their master couldn't be that level of evil. Indeed, there was a sacrifice, but it only happened with the first generation of evil jewel masters. Now Zhou didn't know any of this information. She explained that the sacrifice couldn't be passed down to another generation, but the evil attributes could be inherited. She further explained that the next generation was also taught well, but the sacrifice could be avoided at the final moment when the inborn power jewel awakened or leveled up. Besides, they could only kill their closest relatives when they were unconscious, so she didn't call it evil. He asked whether she was sure about her statement that the evil attributes wouldn't appear when the inborn power jewel awakened. She agreed with him, telling him that the first generation awakened it along with the inborn power jewel, so the next generation wouldn't be in the same situation. Therefore, it would be better to awaken evil attributes earlier. For example, if it were awakened before reaching 6 jewels, the master could have the most powerful of evil attributes called the demonic change. This was the reason the evil attributes masters were sought out by the Inscription Palace. Because with demonic change, they would level up rapidly. That's why the Inscription Palace was afraid of evil attributed masters becoming powerful enough to replace them. So they started the battle with evil attributed masters. On the other hand, the number of evil attribute masters was also limited due to this very reason. She further explained about Tien Xie sect, which was formed by a few remaining evil jewel masters in order to protect evil jewel masters. At that, he realized that she was one of the evil jewel masters because of her knowledge. She admitted it. She further explained that she was not from the first generation and hadn't awakened her evil attribute yet. She then offered him to join Tien Xie sect to help them with his might. Now he understood her reason for being sensitive about evil attributes, but first he needed to know about this sect. He asked about the advantages if he joined. She started to list numerous advantages, including helping him complete the evil jewel master cultivation process. He would be getting inscriptions and manifestations from relevant experts. Besides, he He would also get his hands on the Tien Xie scripture, which was the most valuable treasure.